Imagine walking down Hollywood Boulevard. You know, the sun is just beating down, tourists are bumping into you from every
Oh, yeah,
direction.
yeah, totally crowded. Classic LA.
Right. And you are just staring down at the pavement. You step on a brass star commemorating like a canceled 1950s game show host.
As you do.
Exactly. But then you take another step, and suddenly you are standing on a monument for the men who first walked on the moon.
Right.
You take one more step, and you're literally standing on Big Bird. I mean, why are humanity's greatest scientific pioneers cemented into a sidewalk next to a giant yellow puppet?
Well, it's spatial dissonance, really. Our brains are hardwired to expect monuments to match the domain of the achievement.
Makes sense of that for me.
Okay, so, you win a major historical battle, you get a bronze equestrian statue in a capital city square.
Yeah, of course.
You discover a life-saving cure. Your name is carved into the marble of a major research hospital. But the physical reality of a sidewalk in an entertainment district, I mean, it presents an entirely contradictory narrative for an achievement in astrophysics.
It's totally jarring.
Exactly. It forces the observer to question the very nature of the event that's being commemorated.
And that jarring sense of dissonance, that is exactly the beating heart of our mission today. So welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, you and I are exploring a fascinating piece of source material. It's a set of song lyrics simply titled Apollo 11 from a collection called The Hollywood Stars of Apollo 11.
Which is such a wild text.
It really is. And
Right.
just to be completely clear right at the top for everyone listening, our mission today is not to debate the actual history of the space race. We're not like endorsing any alternative theories here.
Right. No, we are looking strictly at the text of this song,
Yeah.
just trying to understand the specific mechanical arguments the lyricist is making.
Exactly. We are analyzing how a single song uses a literal physical location to construct a narrative that boldly flips one of humanity's greatest achievements from a scientific triumph.
Into a scripted television show.
Yes. Okay, let's unpack this because the songwriter plays with our cultural assumptions from like the very first line.
Oh, absolutely. We are explicitly instructed to look away from the sky.
Right.
The opening lines read, if you're looking for the heroes of the lunar race, don't look at the sky, don't look at space.
Which is crazy because we're talking about astronauts.
Exactly. It demands a lowering of the gaze. It completely subverts our entire conditioning regarding space exploration. I mean, we are taught to look up,
Right.
to reach for the stars.
Yeah.
So pulling our focus down to the pavement is a highly, highly aggressive rhetorical move.
It really is. And the lyrics follow that up with take a walk down Hollywood where the neon glows
Yeah.
and see where the mission finally shows. The contrast there is just delicious.
Oh, it's so good.
You go from the vast, dark, sterile vacuum of outer space
Right.
to the tacky, buzzing, artificial light of a tourist trap in Los Angeles. I mean, the songwriter forces you out of the cosmos and into the gutter, basically.
Yeah, and then the song hits you with the physical evidence.
Yes.
The lyrics point out the 4 squares on the ground in the TB zone, and they specifically name Neil, Buzz, and Michael commemorated in brass and stone.
What's fascinating here is the songwriter's reliance on tangible public evidence to support this highly subversive premise.
Right, because the song isn't asking you to believe in some shadowy, unseen conspiracy happening in a classified back room.
No, no. The phrase, proof is written on a Hollywood street, operates on the undeniable fact that the Walk of Fame actually exists.
Literally anyone can fly to California, walk to that corner, and touch those stars.
Exactly. The songwriter weaponizes a real administrative fact that the Apollo 11 astronauts received stars on the Walk of Fame and uses that physical real estate as the foundational proof for their entire narrative.
It's so clever.
Let me try to put this in perspective for the listener. Imagine you are a world-renowned 3 Michelin star chef.
Okay, I'm with you.
You spend your entire life mastering the complex chemistry of food, the thermodynamics of heat, the absolute precision of sourcing ingredients.
The hard science of cooking.
Right. You fundamentally change the culinary world. And you finally get a call that you're winning a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award.
Sounds great.
But when you show up to the ceremony to accept it, they hand you a trophy for Best Work of Fiction.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The dissonance of that moment makes you question the reality of the chef's entire career.
That analogy sets the table perfectly. But let's take it a step further to explain the mechanics of what the song is pointing out here.
Okay, go for it.
Imagine that the award committee in your scenario literally only has categories for fiction and poetry.
Oh, they don't even have a cooking category.
Exactly. They do not possess a category for cooking. So, to honor the chef, they legally reclassify the recipe as a fictional short story. Yeah. They force the chef's life's work into an existing administrative box. That bureaucratic shoehorning is exactly what the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce did to Apollo 11.
Because they only have entertainment category.
Right. And it's the loophole the lyricist exploits perfectly.
We are definitely going to dig into the absurdity of that bureaucratic leveling, but before we do, we need to debate a very specific mathematical anomaly in this first section of the text.
Ah, yes. The squares.
Yes. The lyrics mention 3 names, Neil, Buzz, and Michael. But the line immediately preceding that explicitly states they got 4 squares on the ground in the TV zone. 4 squares for 3 men. I mean, I was tearing my hair out trying to decipher the mechanics of this. Does the 4th square represent the Apollo 11 mission itself as an entity?
It's a great question. The 4 squares mystery really repays close reading. If we examine the thematic focus of the lyrics, a compelling argument emerges that the 4th square represents the television broadcast itself.
The broadcast getting its own square.
Exactly. Consider the mechanics of the event. The camera was, for all intents and purposes, the 4th crew member.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Because without the camera transmitting the signal back to Earth, the event has no cultural footprint.
It's just 3 guys alone in the dark.
Precisely. The song leaves it slightly ambiguous, but given the strict categorization in the TV zone, the implication is that the structural framework of the event, the medium of television, takes up just as much physical and historical real estate as the biological men who participated in it.
Man, think about that for a second. The camera itself getting a monument alongside the humans.
It's a shift in priority.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when you physically place an astronaut in the TV zone, the vocabulary we use to describe them, well, it has to change too. And the text actively leans into this metamorphosis.
Oh, heavily.
The discussion in the song naturally pivots to how that physical location fundamentally redefines their actual job descriptions.
Because, I mean, if the listener accepts the premise of the location, that the astronaut's ultimate cultural monument is an entertainment award,
Right.
then the listener must retroactively reevaluate the work they actually did to earn it. The monument dictates the history.
Yes. The lyrics go incredibly hard on this redefinition. They didn't get a star for the flight they took or the math they wrote in a physics book.
It's so dismissive.
It is. And then a few lines down, they didn't need a lab. They needed a lens, a couple of scripts, and some high-profile friends.
Wow.
No. The songwriter is taking a massive eraser to the technical vocabulary of astrophysics, telemetry, lunar modules, orbital mechanics, all of it stripped away and replaced with the vocabulary of a studio lot.
It's brilliant.
A lab becomes a lens. Math becomes a script.
It is a methodical dismantling of scientific authority. The song sets up a direct conflict between the invisible work of science and the highly visible work of entertainment.
Right.
And it argues that the visible always wins the historical narrative.
Okay, but I have to push back on the absolute binary the song sets up here, though.
Sure.
As an analytical reader, is the song actually claiming that because the event was broadcast, the math and the physics simply didn't exist at all? I mean, that feels entirely reductive.
It does.
Or is this a more biting commentary on how society's consumption of an event ultimately overrides the reality of how it was achieved?
Well, the song is arguing that culturally, the binary is absolute. We have to view this through the lens of Marshall McLuhan's famous theory. The medium is the message.
Okay, right.
Let's look at the specific phrase the lyricist uses, a 30-hour show that was widely known. By framing a grueling, highly technical, life-threatening spaceflight simply as a 30-hour show, the lyricist posits that the television broadcast swallowed the historical event whole.
It just consumed it.
Exactly. For the 600 million people sitting in their living rooms in 1969, the reality of the moon landing wasn't the complex mathematics written in a physics book.
Because they couldn't see the math.
The math was completely invisible to them. The only tangible reality they experienced was the glowing phosphor dots on the cathode ray tube in their living room.
Wow.
Therefore, to the public, the broadcast was the event.
So the screen eats the science.
Essentially, yes.
That is a heavy concept to digest.
Yeah.
I mean, Think about the last major global news event you watched live. Did you care about the raw data, the logistics, the underlying mechanics making the event happen?
Probably not.
No. Or did you just absorb the narrative the broadcast fed you?
Just what we all do.
And the text actually plays with this idea visually too, which is brilliant if you are reading the lyrics on the page.
Mm.
There is this fascinating use of capitalization.
Oh, the quotes.
Yes. The lyrics read, "No scientists here, just the variety crew, giving the actors the honor that's due." The word scientist is capitalized and put in quotation marks, treating it like a ridiculous fictional concept.
Right?
Meanwhile, actors is capitalized as their true, undeniable official title.
Typographic sarcasm is a very effective tool.
So effective.
By capitalizing those nouns and deploying those quotation marks, the writer openly mocks the traditional historical record. The text essentially says, society may colloquially call them scientists, but the permanent physical evidence of their monument officially designates them as actors.
Wait, if you redefine the location as a movie set, and you redefine the scientists as actors, that completely poisons the actual moon landing itself, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The deep dive has to naturally move to the climax of the song's argument, which attacked the defining action of the mission. What happens to the most famous quote of the 20th century?
Ah, yes. The holy grail of historical quotes. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Right.
The song takes that pinnacle of human achievement and recasts it entirely through the lens of a studio production.
The lyrics say, "They practiced their lines till the giant leap felt real. Then they signed their names to the television deal." I mean, the cynicism there is just thick.
It's dripping with it. And the phrase practice their lines is the devastating mechanism here. It takes a moment widely understood to be one of spontaneous, awe-inspiring human triumph and reduces it to a grueling rehearsal schedule.
Like they did take after take.
Exactly. It forces the listener to consider that the emotion they feel when hearing that famous audio clip isn't awe at human expansion, but rather the intended result of a meticulously crafted, highly effective acting performance.
Oh, man.
It changes the listener from a witness to history into an audience member evaluating a scene.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. It comes back to the physical neighborhood they're placed in on that sidewalk.
The literal real estate.
Right. The text says, now they're paved in the street where the tourists all tread, between a sitcom star and a movie that's dead. We talked earlier about stepping on a game show host, then the astronauts, then Big Bird.
Yeah, that's spatial dissonance again.
I want to dig into the mechanics of that placement. By physically sandwiching this monumental human milestone between a movie that's dead and a sitcom star, is the songwriter actively trying to degrade the Apollo mission? Or are they pointing out the sheer absurdity of Hollywood's leveling effect?
That's a great question.
This idea that in the eyes of the entertainment industry, everything from cheap daily sitcoms to world-altering history just becomes equivalent, interchangeable content.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is absolutely an indictment of that leveling effect, and it exposes the bureaucracy of historical memory.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah, think about it. The Walk of Fame isn't curated by historians, anthropologists, or scientists.
Right, it's the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce.
Exactly. As an administrative body, they have strict, unyielding rules. They do not have a pioneers of human expansion category.
So you just have their standard buckets.
Right. They only have radio, motion pictures, recording, and TV. The song highlights this administrative trap explicitly. At Hollywood and Vine on the Cornerstone, the TV category is their only home.
Because the Chamber of Commerce had to put them somewhere. They had this unprecedented paradigm-shifting event, but they still had to force it into their existing administrative boxes just to process the paperwork.
And the song brilliantly uses that administrative limitation as the ultimate proof of a performance. Bureaucratic categorization often dictates long-term historical legacy. Once you are officially filed under TV category in brass and stone, the lyricist argues, your legacy is forever bound to the rules of television.
So the science doesn't matter anymore.
It simply does not matter if you achieved orbital velocity and walked on a foreign celestial body. What matters to the permanent record is that you were broadcast.
Right.
Therefore, under the rules of the institution granting the monument, you are a broadcaster. You are an actor.
The text follows that logic to its absolute extreme in the next line. It says, they're categorized as broadcast and TV, the greatest performance in our history.
It's a bold claim.
That line gives me chills, honestly. It's such a radical reframing of reality. It takes an event held up as the absolute pinnacle of scientific truth and asserts, no, it's the pinnacle of theater.
Yeah.
And again, what makes the lyrics argument so structurally sound isn't that it relies on hidden documents or like secret whistleblowers. It relies on a closed loop of logic anchored in the pavement. It ends by saying, if you're looking for proof, just look at their feet. The truth is written on a Hollywood street.
The closed loop of logic is impenetrable once you accept the initial premise.
Right, the premise of the
The
monument.
song establishes the rules. Monuments reflect reality. The monument on Hollywood and Vine is for a television show. Therefore, the reality of the event was a television show.
It's maddeningly logical.
It really is. Your writer uses the very real, very public, very permanent nature of the Walk of Fame to anchor a narrative that completely upends our fundamental understanding of the event. It is a masterclass in using undeniable physical evidence to support a wildly divergent narrative.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you, the listener, to consider the mechanics we've uncovered today. We've explored how a single set of lyrics uses literal sidewalk real estate to boldly reframe the Apollo 11 mission from an act of rigorous science to a 30-hour Hollywood broadcast.
A really fascinating shift.
Yeah, whether you view this song as a playful, biting critique of modern media consumption or an exploration of alternative history, the text forces us to confront the mechanisms of how we memorialize our past. It challenges you to look at the media you consume, how it is categorized, and ask yourself whether the administrative label we put on an event fundamentally shapes our reality of it.
Absolutely.
When the broadcast becomes the only way we interface with history, does the broadcast become the history?
It serves as a vital critical thinking exercise about the architecture of memory.
Yeah.
Every monument, every category, every plaque, every algorithm that sorts our news is a choice made by an administrative body.
Someone had to make that choice.
Right. And those bureaucratic choices flatten nuance and shape the historical narrative for everyone who comes after.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. Left built strictly on the physical imagery provided by these lyrics, imagine it is 1,000 years from now.
Okay, 1,000 years.
Human civilization, as we currently know it, has faded, and future archaeologists are digging through the rubble of what used to be Los Angeles.
Right.
They don't have our digital servers, they don't have our history books, our physics texts, or the NASA archives. All the context is gone.
They just have the physical debris.
Right. They are literally digging through the dirt at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. They unearth these physical squares of brass and stone. They wipe away the dust and see the names Neil, Buzz, and Michael.
And they see the classic television set symbol designating the TV category.
Exactly. They map the coordinates and realize these three men were paved right next to sitcom stars and actors from dead movies, without any of our modern context to correct them.
Yeah.
Would those future archaeologists look at that undeniable physical evidence and logically conclude that Neil, Buzz, and Michael were just a mid-century acting troupe who put on a really great show? As we discussed at the very beginning, our brains expect the monument to match the domain of the achievement. But what happens to the truth when the monument tells a completely different story?